My name is Gordon Atamensa from Ghana News Agency. The issue of high sulfur in our petroleum products has been there for some time, and 2 years ago it became very topical in this country. Last year, Vice President said by July last year, he wanted to reduce it from 3,000 ppm to 50 ppm because of the health implication and environmental effects. What regulatory framework are you putting in place to ensure that the sulfur content in our fuel is reduced? Thank you.
My name is William Evans Sinkum. I'm from GH1 Television, EIB. Mr. Minister, I just want to mention your quote, and you said poverty gap is a technology gap. Elsewhere, they've been able to turn refuse sitting at Kwadaso Bolakese, if you care to know, refuse sitting at Abobloshi Market, refuse sitting at Kaneshi Market. They've been able to turn them to something meaningful. Here, it is an adversity. I've had several engagements with some scientists, and they have suggested that we could even turn a refuse dump to something that perhaps can help reclaim our degraded lands. I just want to find out from you, what is your ministry doing? You are a scientist yourself. What is your ministry doing to ensure that this particular adversity becomes an opportunity? Thank you.
Yeah. My name is Kweku Stephen. I represent Ashefmen Oman FM. Mr. Minister, I want to find out what modalities are the ministries of Environment, Science and Innovation and the Ministry of Lands ensuring that during this ban of illegal mining, now there are some successes that we've achieved. What are the modalities we are going to put in place that when the ban is being lifted, we can still sustain some of these successes? Thank you.
My name is Prince Owusu Esiedu. I work with Adum TV Multimedia Group Limited. Mr. Minister, in your speech, you said you are collaborating with the Ministry of Environment to deal with flooding issues. Works and housing. Yeah, I would like to find out what have you done so far, because every day there is flooding here, flooding there. So I don't know, you didn't mention in your speech what you've done so far, so I would like to know. And
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Margaret Sabwach. I work with the Vanguard newspaper. Please, Honorable Minister, you are not the Minister for Education, but you seem to know much about the President's agenda for the free SHS. It seems most Ghanaians know, it's like the free SHS is to, like the President wants to educate Ghanaian children to bring out the innovations in them. Most Ghanaians do not know this, so can you elaborate more about it for us? Because you kept saying that the President wants the future of Ghanaian children to bring out the innovations in them. So I just want to know much about it.
Asked about the high sulfur content. Well, it's worrying because if you have high sulfur, then you know that when it gets into the atmosphere, it will combine with other substances to give us acid, rain, and so on. The EPA is monitoring our environment, and those who are responsible for blending the petroleum, NPA, I think they are working very hard to reduce the percentage, the content from 3,000 parts per million to 50. But I cannot tell you exactly where they are at this moment. As you saw from my report, ideally at every point we should be able to monitor and track things, which can even be downloaded online so everybody can see. And that is what we are trying to do with the Gill Center that we want to establish. So I will not be able to give you the exact information as is happening at this moment. What I know is that people are working very hard, and we cannot continue to tolerate that high sulfur content, because it will not be good for our environment and for our health, and even for our forests. I don't know whether I've satisfied you with the answer, but that's what I can say at the moment. And Mr. Ivan Nkum talked about the refuse. Yes, it is alarming. But the good thing is that Ghanaians are talking about it. And that's a good sign that we want to do something about it. You know, why is it that suddenly everybody is talking about refuse? It has been there for all these years. But we want to do something. The president says that he wants to make Accra the cleanest city in Africa. And that has resisted this response. And I think that is very healthy. But there are a few things that are happening. I mentioned that we now have the technology to recycle plastic very well. And plastics account for a lot of the refuse. There's one company that is preparing pavement stones. We're going to use it in house construction and also in road construction. We are working closely with one researcher in Takwa, University for Mine Studies, one Dr. Dankwa, who has produced a device, a system that is able to turn the plastics into diesel fuel. We are just in the prototype stage, and pretty soon something more will happen. But to say that the refuse can be used into something, we couldn't tell me exactly what, but I know what you are trying to say. The thing is that if you go to certain areas, countries in Europe, in Asia, in Korea, for example, where they do proper landfill, engineered landfill, we don't have any landfill site in Ghana. What we have is dumping sites. Landfills, you have to lay the infrastructure from the very beginning, put in pipes, and you layer the refuse, so that every day when they dump the refuse, before the end of the day, you cover the refuse with laterite. And at the end of the day, you will not even know that there was refuse there. This is done, and it's layered up to about 5 meters. Then you extend the pipe. Eventually, when the land site is closed, or even before the closure, these are the pipes that will track the methane gas in the landfill site that can be used for power generation. In Korea, we went to a place where they have a landfill site. Actually, 3 of them. One has been closed, and the closed one is now a very big golf course where people can play 18-hole golf. At the same time, they have a power plant that generates 50 megawatts of power through trapping the landfill gas. So these are the things that we have to do. But then you have to do it from the very beginning as you prepare the landfill site, lay the proper infrastructure. But we are not used to doing that. So we dump it, and then when we wake up one day and say, oh, we should be able to use the landfill into something else. So I agree with you. We have a problem, but we are thinking about the solution, and it may take time. But once we know what to do and we are committed to it, it will be done. Yeah, about the lifting of the ban, what are we going to do to sustain or so that we don't go back to the bad old days? The Minerals Commission, actually we are working on it. And all the agencies, Ministry of Lands, Minerals Commission, Forestry Commission, MESTI, Water Resources Commission, and so on, we all have our various tasks to do. One, the Inspectorate Division of the Minerals Commission was very weak. That is why we went into this program. So the government has given resources to strengthen the Inspectorate Division. Now, the Chief Executive announced that they are going to employ 540 individuals who are going to be trained as inspectors. They are going to set up new mining districts, about 3 new mining districts and 12 sub-districts. They are going to be provided with motorbikes and vehicles so that they can do the inspection very well. So the inspection of the mine site is going to be more robust. One thing we are doing now is the application of drones. And we are working closely with our colleagues from University for Mine Studies, TAQUA. We have acquired some more drones, and if you see our new report, you will be impressed. With the drones, we are able to detect in real time what people are doing. 2 weeks ago, there was a mining company in the Kibi area. What they do is, during the day, they will heap up the ore, or how do you call that thing? Not tailings. Yeah, okay. So they will do that and wash it. Whilst they are doing that, they will block the access to the river. But in the evening, when they are going home, they will open the thing so that the tailings will go into the river, and you will never know who did it. But one day, as if by providence, our drones were working, and we caught him. And so, right there and then, we called the municipal chief executive of Akim East, Kibi, who went to the site, and the people were there, so they were arrested. So we believe that with the increasing use of technology, we'll be able to limit human intervention. That is, we can modify the activities of Operation Vanguard. Maybe reduce the number. When we use the drones, we know there's something wrong going there. We can get the exact coordinates, give them to Operation Vanguard, and maybe they can use helicopter to zoom in at the site. And these are the things, some of the things that we are trying to do. Use of drones, is the mines division, and also we are going to restore the rivers. They are silted, a lot of tree trunks, debris in the rivers. We are going to deepen them to a depth of about 6 meters, increase the weight to 30 meters, raise the banks, and then we'll be able to use boats, motorized boats, so that we can police the rivers very well. These and other things are the things that we are going to do so that we'll maintain the ban. But I must assure you that the monitoring will be more intense even after the ban is lifted, so that we'll never go into this situation again. The last question, or the fourth question, was about the flooding, what we are doing. First of all, a lot of harm has been done. We have destroyed, as Mr. Dakura, the head of LISPA, will say, we have destroyed the flood retention areas, the ponds, and so on. But an important thing that we are not doing yet is early warning systems. If we can develop the technology to warn people about flooding, we'll be able to prevent a lot of damage. And so we are also working on storm drains, but this is a very expensive venture, because right now in Ghana we don't have any drains. You know, if we go elsewhere, after the rains, the water will drain into some small drains, then into the storm drains. Some of the drains are so big, bigger than this room. And if you go to a lot of European cities, you'll find these inlets. People will descend underground, and they stay there for 8 hours working in the drainage system. We don't have that here. And it will take a lot of effort and money to do that. But we are doing the best we can to mitigate the situation. As pre-SHS, you see, it's a difficult situation. We can't say, okay, free SHS, then you innovate. There must be innovation systems in place. And it will take me about half an hour to explain what innovation systems are. Apart from educating the people, you have to create certain conditions that will enable them to innovate. There are people who come to us, they say they are innovators. You ask them questions, and all you can say is that they are dreaming. They just imagine something, and they think they are innovating. So we need to educate them, create the innovation system, the conditions that will allow them to apply the knowledge that they have to create situations that they can innovate. But you can see us at the ministry, and then we can talk about this at another time. I'm told that if you go to the Ghana Standard Authority website, you will read that the 50 parts per million concentration of sulfur content was achieved in September last year. Who asked that question? Please check it out. And then if you're not happy, come and educate me as well.
Hi. My name is Eric, work with Star FM AIB. Mr. Minister, there's a question I have for you in relation to some level of misunderstanding, if I can say, between the Environmental Protection Agency and the Ministry over quarterly payment of some 1 million cedis. How is this particular challenge being resolved? We understand there's been a back and forth with regards to that.
I am Jerry Akono from Class FM. I know that under the ban on Galamsey, there were some plans to audit and reclaim the land. May I know the state of that exercise?
My name is Daniel Nkansan-Pabin. I report for NGO TV. The nation is blessed. We are blessed with the extent that every day we discover new natural resources with the discovery of lithium. I would like to know what will make this lithium discovery unique from the other ones that have been discovered. Thank you.
Christiana Ifwanyako is my name from TV Africa. I would like to ask the minister, looking at the level of pollution in our rivers as a result of small-scale mining, what we call Galamsey, does he think that the temporary ban technologically is the way to go right now? And we would like to know the serious housing deficits rocking Ghana right now. We want to know, in terms of technology, what is the ministry doing to bridge that gap? Thank you.
I'm Lydia Kukwa Samwa from GNA. I have two quick questions, but I'm supposed to ask one. The first one, it's about the Nuclear Regulatory Authority. We know we have boards that have been established for all the agencies under the ministry, but I know that we don't have any board yet for the Nuclear Regulatory Authority, which the minister stressed their importance in regulating atomic energy and so on. So I want to know when the minister or the government will set up the board. And quickly, we talk about the laws, enforcement of environment laws. Minister, I want to know who enforces it, because we have a government in place, and the Ramsar sites are being sold and being encroached each day. What are we doing about it? Can't we have a statement or a strong will like we have towards the Galamsey to deal with it once and for all? Thank you.
I am Kojajman from CTFM. Prof, we know your ministry is chairing the Inter-Ministerial Task Force against small-scale mining. In 2016, data shows that the registered small-scale miners contribute 31% of gold production in the country. They are also saying that they are losing over 500 million cedis when we started the ban on small-scale mining. And then looking at the expenditure on the Operation Vanguard, we know you have a blueprint, the multi-sectorial mining integrated project. Why is it, I know it is ready, it was announced that it was going to be launched in February, which it was postponed. Why is this blueprint still lying on the shelves of your ministry?
Thank you very much for the questions. Eric from Star FM, you asked about 1 million that EPA pays to Mercy headquarters. This was a directive from Ministry of Finance, and the letter was sent, I think, in February 2016. So it is not something that the minister is begging or demanding. All agencies are supposed to pay 15% of their income to the headquarters, because the headquarters doesn't generate income. And because people think the agencies are rich, the headquarters is not given much of subvention. And therefore, we depend on the agencies to run the headquarters. And so the Minister of Finance in 2016 gave those directives to the Accountant General and copied all the agencies. And so Atomic Energy, CSIR, Nuclear Regulatory, and so on are all supposed to pay something to the headquarters. But as you can imagine, Nuclear Regulatory Authority just come, poor people, they have nothing. National Biosafety Authority, very poor. Ghana Space Science, Professor Admako, he even came for one of my vehicles. CSIR, in fact, I had to buy a computer for the Plant Genetics Research Institute in Bunsu so that they can record their things. And so the only agency that is a little bit well endowed is EPA, and they are mandated to pay 1 million cedis to the headquarters. I think this is an act of righteousness. And I usually don't depart from the path of righteousness. It's a good thing that they are doing. Eric, I think I've answered your question now. Where are you? Okay. And then Class FM, Galamsey, when are we going to reclaim the land? The destruction has slowed, but it's still going on. But we have a program to do that. First of all, when the ban is lifted, an agreement that we are coming into with UNIDO will kick in. We are doing some baseline studies to examine the level of mercury poisoning in the miners themselves, in the communities they work, and the water bodies around, including the fish. So we know the level of mercury poisoning. When that is done, the result will be transmitted to the Global Environment Facility, and we'll have the chance to apply for funds that will help us in reclaiming the land. I must say that it is not a cheap exercise. We commissioned a company to look at Ankobra River, reclaiming it, how much it's going to cost us. That river alone will cost us $400 million to get the Ankobra clean. And if you can imagine all these rivers and the land, and we estimate that about 5 to 10% of Ghana's area of 230,000 square kilometers is involved. In other words, we are having to restore an area of 23,000 square kilometers. This is not a cheap exercise. And therefore, that is why we have to stop this destruction from going on, and then use our international conventions, Minamata conventions, the Paris Agreement, through all these international engagements, we have the chance to apply for funds that will help us reclaim the land and also to restore the water bodies. Lithium, why is it so unique? It is unique because that is the direction that the world is going. Some of you will remember Tesla vehicles that are electric vehicles. All electric vehicles are using lithium batteries. And the storage system accounts for at least 80% of the cost of either the power system or solar energy. And so it's going to help us in the sense that right now we have about 2 or 3 Ghanaian companies producing solar panels. If we're able to establish a battery factory in Ghana and we are able to develop that technology, we will be able to reduce the cost of installation of solar energy by about 80%. Now, what I think should not happen is that we allow people to come and exploit the lithium and export it in the raw state. We should have arrangements where the lithium, or at least a percentage, will be processed here so we can produce the batteries for our own use. As I said, all the power devices that you are holding in your hands are powered by lithium. And that is why lithium is unique. And we have deposits in the western region, water region in the north. And so I think it's unique. The next question was about the pollution of the river, the rivers. Lydia, that was the question, isn't it? Is the ban the right way? Of course. You know, as at February last year, between February and April last year, we were unable to process the water in a lot of our treatment plants. In Osino, in Chebi, Sechrehiman, and Taboase, because of the increased stability of the water. And the certain was that when you think you are able, you can make it, you pump in millions of gallons of water into the treatment system, and at the end, you realize that it is not good enough. So you have to open the spillways to not to allow the water into the piping system. So we were losing millions of cedis a day. Now, the turbidity has improved to the extent that we can produce processed water in all the treatment plants. But one thing that we've noticed, yesterday I got that report. We know that there are about 8 mining companies who are still doing things illegally. And when you monitor the rivers at the points where they discharge their tailings and everyone into the system, those areas have high turbidity. So we believe that if we are able to calm down on some of these companies, we'll be able to increase, to change the quality of the water in the rivers. Housing deficit. Well, really, it is, I'm concerned, but the primary ministry is the Minister for Housing and Construction. But we are interested in the sense that BRRI has developed Barcelona cement. Until recently, it was not on the list of cement that was permitted to be used for government projects. But that has changed now. So if we're able to use Barcelona cement, we can reduce the cost of housing by about 25% and other construction things. We are also interested in the technology. The use of bricks is also very important in this respect. And again, I also mentioned earlier on that we can use waste, plastic, combined with other material to construct pavement stones and houses. Enforcement of laws. Well, this is Ghana. And when you try to enforce laws, they say, oh, that's where we feed our, you get money to feed our children and educate them. That's how I get money and so on. And then you will get all sorts of people, chiefs and pastors, you know, coming to you to beg for people who are breaking the law and are being told to do the right thing. I think we have to change our ways and attitude and make sure that if you do the wrong thing, you desist from doing it and you have to be sanctioned. Could you talk about Kojajiman, CC from City FM, Galamsey, MMIP, yes. You know, if we examine the figures that are coming out, we produce 31% of the gold. How much of it stays in this country? Last year alone, it was estimated that at least about 50 billion cedis worth of gold is smuggled outside. I think the senior minister or the vice president went on a visit to Dubai. You know about that story. When we went there, the authorities were congratulating Ghana for doing excellent business with Dubai, because according to them, they imported $7 billion worth of gold from Ghana. And so, to one city, one country, 7 billion. What about the others? So our estimate shows that a lot of the gold was smuggled. And therefore, if we look at the figures that you were saying, 31% of gold output, how much was it here? Yes, I know, but if they had that money, wouldn't it change the way they look, the way they live, in the way, why didn't they invest in other areas so that they can employ people outside the gold business? And if they say they were losing 500 million cedis, so how much of it goes into the government chest? So if we look at the figures that they put out, they will have a lot more questions to answer. And you mentioned the MMIP. Yes, MMIP has been approved by cabinet, but it can only kick in after the ban is lifted. Because so long as the illegality is going on, the MMIP will not work. Because we are, in fact, implementing a lot of the components of MMIP, that is land reclamation, training of miners, and we've trained about 600 of them in sustainable mining at Tarkwa at the expense of the government. Alternative livelihood, so long as, and we need to do a lot of studies. For example, some people want to do fish farming in some of the excavations left in the mining sites. And here we've charged the CSIR to look into it. And there are a lot of problems that we have to surmount. First of all, a lot of the excavations are not stable. They can be undermined, they can break in and collapse and so on. So you can't do fish farming there. Sometimes, as I'm told by the BRRI, you need to stabilize the excavations with rocks and so other material before you can even think about fish farming. Apart from that, we have heavy metal contamination, arsenic, cadmium, lead, and so on. Even from indiscriminate, look at all the batteries that we use in this country and how they are disposed of. Everything goes into the soil, eventually into the water bodies. So lead and these things are, so we need to examine these areas before we can talk about alternative livelihood. In fact, in Kibi, Minister Amewu commissioned a company to examine the land in some area. And we saw that it is so poisonous that you can't even grow maize. That is why CSR, again, is helping us with certain plants, broccoli, because we know that certain plants can absorb heavy metals. And so what we may have to do is to plant some of these low-lying vegetation, broccoli, salad, and so on, to mop up the heavy metals. You do that over 3, 4, or 5 cycles. And when you do that, then there will be the possibility that you can get rid of these heavy metals before you can release the land to plant things that human beings will consume. So we are doing a lot of harm to ourselves. And the steps that we have to take to remedy this thing it's not easy. We need a lot of science, a lot of dedication. So we are working on it. I think that was the last question. Which one? NRA board. You see, this is something, actually, the board is in place, and I'm told that it's only left with the signature of His Excellency the President. Every day, I call the office of the Chief of Staff. That's what I'm told. And the President is busy, but I know that at the right time, pretty soon, we'll get a board for NRA. The other, Korle Bu has no board, even as at now, and other areas. So, I think we'll get there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. Science and technology hold the key to the sustainable development of every country, including Ghana. As the country is blessed with enormous natural resources, it is through the development and exploitation of science, technology, and innovation that we can harness and add the needed value to our raw materials. You will also agree with me that many developed and advanced countries did progress and succeeded much because of their heavy investment in science, technology, and innovation. All these successes were based on carefully designed roadmaps of plans and strategies. Thankfully, we have a president in the caliber of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, who believes that the development of science and technology will serve as a catalyst for our nation-building agenda. Today's extensive presentation by the professor, however, shows how much committed the president is towards the development of science, technology, innovation, and the sustainability of our environment. On this note, let me commend you, our brothers and sisters from the media, for the excellent role you are playing in information dissemination, aiding and contributing to the national development discourse. Let's continue to render our valuable services to the development of this country. We are grateful.